Greetings, nerds. This is Scene and Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well. We are back in our regular time slot,
Yes.
and we will, well, by the end of the month, we'll be shifting to Tuesdays.
Yeah, yeah. We will be shifting to Tuesday, so yeah, Paradise will be premiering the 23rd. So we will be shifting to Tuesdays to continue our discussions of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which we're going to be talking about tonight, but also pick up Paradise, season 2.
Yeah, but there's not. Oh yeah. Okay. Um yeah, so A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, season 1, episode 4, 7. Dunk angers the Targaryens and demands trial by combat. When Aerion calls for a trial of 7, Dunk must find 6 warriors to join him in a battle. Will, what did you think about this episode?
So my overall thoughts to kick us off is, this to me was just a true lesson in how you build expectations, and the payoff was executed masterfully as far as the conclusion to this episode. And I have to say, I knew, I was wondering when we were going to get this payoff, as far as in the novella, where we do have the tournament and everything. And I have to say, it took the source material and just took it to the next level. And I have to say, give Peter Claffey the nods for the Emmy right now, because I really think he just really excelled as Dunk in this episode. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's another solid episode. I mean, this show so far has just been consistent. Very consistent with everything that it's doing. Um and we start the episode with Duncan in his cell, and then we have an interaction with Egg, and ultimately what really is what I consider the truer cold open of this episode, which is Duncan's conversation with Baylor.
Hmm.
Um and because if you're paying attention to that conversation, it's the end reveal of Baylor being on Duncan's side is not surprising.
Right.
However, it's done in a way where it is a twist, in the sense that he is a Targaryen. So
Hmm.
I think what they're doing so far um is they are not executing, to go back to Paradise, the Paradise twist, which has you believe you're being told one story, and within the last 5 minutes, it turns it on its head. And it's like, no, that's not what this story is about at all. It's about something else entirely. That's not what this show is doing. This show is taking characters and um, taking specifically a family that we are well accustomed to, given House of Dragon
Hmm.
and Game of Thrones, and then putting in this hedge knight in the middle of this very political, very birthright driven family
Yep.
that has a lot of infighting. So, and honestly, what I kept thinking about throughout the entire episode is specifically after Duncan's conversation with Baylor,
Hmm.
is the look that Baylor gives Aerion after the joust. Because
Hmm.
there is a look exchanged between the two of them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that uncle wants you dead. Uncle does not like you. Does not like you one bit, and you don't like him, because
Yeah.
Arian, his whole display also tarnished Baylor. So you're
Yeah.
dealing with like a nephew not liking his uncle, but his uncle supersedes him in terms of power and hierarchy.
Yeah, he's the
Because
hand. Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
it's I just I find it I find it very interesting how, like I said last week, they continue to be able to tap into this world that we are very familiar with and just continue to find new ways of showing perspective.
yeah. You know, it's interesting that you had with your take on Baylor and Arian because you know, thinking back to the conversation that you talked about with between Dunk and Baylor, and during that conversation, they were discussing how good of a knight are you, you know, as far as
Hmm.
his skills,
Hmm.
and because you know, because again, during this time period in Westeros, things are relative peace. I mean, there hasn't been any war, and so the only way that knights can really show their prowess is through these tournaments. So uh, so thinking to when they do get to the scenes where they're all sitting there at the table,
Hmm.
Baylor, Maker, Arian, and the others, and you know he's sitting there like you know crunching the walnuts and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, Baylor also gave him an out in the sense that you know because of the impression that, like you noted, Dunk made on him as far as being an honorable man, and
What
so
do you mean he gave him an out?
I think he was, you know, I think he may have whenever they were trying to decide the judgment, whether or not to take a hand and a foot or another,
Oh yeah,
or,
he
yeah,
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 Baylor knew in that conversation
yeah,
that Duncan does not know his options. So he was
yeah,
playing lawyer. He
yeah, playing a
was
lawyer, and also you know, given that he didn't know honestly Duncan's skill. I mean, you know, you have Arian, who's a Targaryen, who you know we've seen in House of the Dragon
yeah.
how they train and all. So he was also probably thinking, you know, let me just dig out this old method of from the you know from the Andals
Well, that
and
wasn't
just get it.
Baylor.
No. I'm saying I know Arian said it, but my point is I think Baylor off screen or you know maybe hinted
Oh,
to Arian
I
that
don't. Mm-mm.
yeah that this is because or I mean or it could just be that you know the Targaryens just you know their stuff and
Yeah, I think Arian, based on both his uncle and his father's react, I thought his father's reaction was even more interesting to
yeah
that whole thing. They were not pleased. And I could hear Baylor just be like, "Damn it, he knew about that shit." Because I think the whole conversation, "Are you a good knight?" Like, "How good of a knight are you?"
mm,
is kind of like, "Are you good enough to take out my nephew?"
yeah
Because I think one-on-one size, get
yeah
him off the horse.
yeah
Yeah. So it's I think that that came out of left field. I don't think that was intended because now that even forced Baylor to make a decision to really make it clear whose side he's on. And he can say all of the honor crap he
yeah
wants, but
yeah
his brother knows the truth.
yeah
So
yeah yeah
the yeah, it won't end well. There was something else you said that I wanted to touch on, but I forgot.
was it as far as just the on
Oh, it was about the Targaryen trainings that you
yeah
brought up.
yeah
And that was another thing. Because we've seen Arian in action
hmm
and we know how much of an ass he is. We know which
yeah
side of the tree his apple fell on
yeah
from the Targaryen tree.
yeah
But we're also introduced to yet another, we've already seen him, but we're
hmm
properly introduced to another brother of eggs, um, Darren,
yeah
who is almost like, are you sure you're not Baylor's? Are you sure? I see the blonde hair, but are you sure? Who will it who he first lies, but he had
Yep.
to. And we
Yeah.
understand, given our knowledge about especially Targaryen fathers, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
But that lie even works against Duncan, which pushes him further into this situation that he now has to fight his way out of.
Yep.
And then he brings Egg and talks to Duncan and basically tells him, just let me have one good look and just knock me on the head. just, 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 I don't want any part of this. Go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and kill my brother. But I think it just again shows, because he's not Egg, because he
Right.
did lie. I mean,
Yeah.
Egg lied too, but
Mm-hmm.
he is also, he's definitely not his brother.
Yeah.
It's similar to some of the stuff we saw early on in House of the Dragon with the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Another thing about Darren too, he also has that Targaryen gift of at least with of se- dreams
foresight.
yep, yeah, like Helena. I thought about, as soon as whenever he was talking about that in this episode, I was like, I immediately thought of Helena. But I think but he was a little bit more definitive in his prescience than she was, because I think she more talked in sort of concepts, whereas he was like, yeah, we're gonna have a, what was the quote, I guess putting it in the notes, oh gosh, yeah, well, he had a vision of Duncan alive and a giant
Mhm.
dragon dead, so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if he told his uncle that vision,
Mm, it's possible.
because he doesn't like his father.
Yeah.
So I wonder, and if that further pushed Baylor to step in at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Well, I think there are a couple of factors. I think that's definitely a factor,
Oh
as
yeah,
far
and
as, yeah,
there's
yeah,
thousands with Baylor
yeah,
and his
yeah,
decision.
yeah, for sure. So speaking of, I know you mentioned the lies and stuff, and I really, I know we quickly touched on Duncan Egg in the whenever he was in the cell, but I really, really with that scene, just the betrayal that Dunk felt, because I think he really had grown to, really like this kid. When I think about like the scene in last week's episode where they, at first he was kind of annoyed, but then he's like, "Let me teach you how to properly, like, sew up this jacket and all that kind of stuff." I mean, throughout the series they have, like, grown this relationship between the two characters, and so I will say that the the hurt that was shown there, it was even more, more vivid than what was even in the novella, the Hedge Knight. So I liked where, that's where this show has also excelled in, like, taking the source material and, like, making it even more dynamic, which, it's a fun read anyway, but it just takes watching it, definitely, and seeing how they've interpreted that in this adaptation, to me, really, I texted you over the weekend. I was like, I absolutely love this episode. So that's one of the reasons why too.
So I want to touch on Egg
Yeah.
and something else. I kept going back to the episode before. It's
Hmm.
really interesting because in this episode, as we talk about Egg and we see what he's doing and the role he's now in, and or the position he's now in, I kept thinking about the joust again with Arian, but this time at the beginning when or I don't know if it was Arian's joust or if it was the joust beforehand when Egg screams, "Kill him."
Mm.
Was it Arian's joust?
It might have been because whenever he
Because
was jousting with Sir Humphrey, when he's
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
because if that's the case, then because I heard and I think I remember that because I heard someone talk about it in the sense that like he clearly was enjoying the brutality until
mm,
it got to be too much.
mm,
And but because he said kill him, like he
yeah,
was in on the action. But if it was in fact the Aryan joust, he was specifically telling Arian's opponent because he makes it very clear in this episode to Duncan. He's like,
yeah,
yeah, I need you to kill him because
yeah,
like this is what my brother did to me when I was even younger than I am now. He attempted to make me his sister so he could marry me. The
yeah,
fuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There was
So that takes incest to a whole new level.
yeah,
A whole new level.
yeah,
But I and it's hmm, it reminded me. I don't think you're that far in Game of Thrones. So, but it reminded me of a story that Tyrion Lannister tells of his sister,
mm,
Cersei. So I, I again, like it's, it's interesting how, the justifications that these
yeah,
characters give for the decisions that they're making. And, um, with Duncan, he's learning as he goes
yeah,
because you're right, um there was a lot of anger and betrayal when he first is talking to Egg, but by the time he gets to Baylor, which is not much time in between, he's suddenly defending Egg,
yeah,
and in a very protective way.
yeah,
So it's and I think that's what Egg expected in a way.
mm,
I did really like the line though, because again, that whole conversation is like just great prepping for Baylor's ultimate decision, which
mm,
arguably every scene Baylor is in so far in these episodes, again, just a build up until to that pinnacle decision to fight alongside Duncan,
mm,
because he tells Egg, you should have come to me when the
yep,
puppet stuff. Like and it does make a viewer think.
yeah,
If you were Egg, knowing your family, knowing the consequences, and
mm,
knowing Duncan does not necessarily think first.
no,
Okay. He just goes with full emotion.
yeah,
You're gonna go to him before your uncle, who you know your uncle. I bet you Egg also knows his uncle does not really care for Arian that much.
yeah, yeah,
So I thought that was an excellent point that I hadn't thought about.
mm,
And it does make me question Egg and being, I mean, I know he's like what, 7 years
so,
old?
you think he's none, yeah,
9, but he's still a little bit tiny. Like
yeah,
it just makes you question. Hmm. You thought a lot of you were very strategic, and then I don't know if that was the right choice, my friend. I don't know, because
yeah,
either way, your freedom is out the door. Like
mm,
either way, but it it's interesting to think about
it is.
the reasoning, Egg's reasoning. I don't know, and you can tell me if they explain his reasoning even more, or if that whole concept is new for the show and wasn't really explored in the book.
For the most part, this episode, with a few deviations, pretty much tracked what happened in the book.
Okay. But do they explore it a little bit more? That
Yeah.
idea that like
Mm,
why Egg chose to go to Duncan and not Baylor in that moment?
Um, a little bit, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think, but it was one of those things, and even in the show too. Just keep it in the show context. I mean, I think here is where I think Egg is trying to like regain the trust, I guess, of Dunk. And so I think that, so when he and to your point too, I mean, he Dunk, Egg knows his family, so uh, so I think, and so I think that was part of the um, dynamics going on there also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, anything else you want to talk about? I said everything I wanted to say.
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah. So to me, I do want to go to the actual. I mean, Dunk having to, we get the choice to build, to do the seven, and just the whole scene of how all that played out as far as, of course we have Sir Stefan, who basically, at first he was going to fight with Dunk, and then of course he saw the opportunity. He was like, saw an opportunity, and switched sides, and then the whole dynamic too, where I think was really pivotal, was when I really wanted to touch on Dunk and his hesitation and 19 Runyon, because I mean I think that was really getting to the core of some of the imposter syndrome that Dunk was feeling, that we've seen throughout the series, and even like going back to the beginning, whenever he was even just trying to get on the list, and and really drives home the point. I think the thing, because there was a flashback. I don't know if you called it, during that moment when he had the flashback to Sir Arlen, um, and I think it was really driving home the point that, you know the having the taps on your shoulders is not really what makes you a knight. It really is, again, going back to the conversation with Baylor, looking out, having honor, looking out for the commoner, looking out for the weak among us. And, that was really driven home, to me in this episode, that um, Dunk was still feeling that imposter syndrome there for a bit when he was hesitating there, making a knight. So when Sir Lionel came over and did it,
Mhm.
definitely gave him the opportunity to, again, try to recruit one more person to go to the crowd. And I mean, and that scene was just so. That's when I referenced the earlier about why I thought he should be considered for Emmy consideration. That was sort of that, how we had the Viserys moment in House of the Dragon. This to me was like that kind of defining moment in the series, where we had Dunk giving that speech, trying to, rouse up the folks, and get someone to fight on his side, and really, again, it was a good exploration of, where things are in this world at this time, in Westeros, and when a guy stood up, and you know we had our one fart joke. You got to have one every episode of Night of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But I really thought, after that moment, and then of course, Baylor was like, off getting suited up, because he, Dunk made an impression, whenever they had that earlier conversation, so that when he came out there and, chose to fight with Dunk, with the seven, it felt like an earned moment.
Was he shown in the stands listening to the speech?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I think
So
he
his
was.
decision was definitely already made.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
I
Dunk
mean,
was like,
it was
but when yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't. Yeah, I was really surprised you didn't want to talk more about hearing the. I guess for me, what really just cemented that scene was like when I heard the Game of Thrones theme, and all. It was just like, perfect. I mean, it was just, you couldn't craft it any better.
I don't know.
At least for me.
This may be sounding mean after all of that, and but for me, it felt very copy and paste. And I just say that because I've heard speeches in these kind of shows and and movies. Like it's very
Yeah.
Braveheart. It's very
Well,
Braveheart. I watched
true.
Braveheart as a lot as a girl because it was one of my dad's favorite movies, but whatever. So it just I don't know. I thought his acting was more interesting in the opening scenes, just because there's a lot more the acting he did in the first two scenes was a lot
Mhm.
about more about listening.
Yeah.
And in that final moment, it was a lot more about here's a monologue, a really hefty monologue. And I agree. Like I'm not saying that the actor isn't doing a good job. No, 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 no. Do not get me wrong. He's nailing it.
Yeah.
But I also like the way this I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah.
That kind of scene, uh, it I don't know. It's just I mean,
Well,
I didn't there wasn't that many nuances that I could dig
well,
into or that
yeah.
stuck out while all there were so many other nuances and different conversations that were
Yeah.
happening.
Well,
I'm
see,
very
that's,
big with conversations.
yeah. Well, see, that's why it worked for me. To your point, the things that you just raised, as far as the earlier scenes. So for me, I think it was like, as I stated before, it was building expectations, and so for it to me, those earlier scenes laid the foundation, and even even earlier scenes in the series itself, but in particular in this episode laid the foundation for that moment. So for me, that's so it wasn't just the moment, it was the totality of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
Anything else?
yeah, but no, but like I said, other than that, I mean, that was just all really. I just really wanted to talk about that the last act of the episode because, like I said, I think the payoff was just so rewarding for me as a viewer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
All right. Well, that brings us to Wonder Man, and we've only watched the first 4 episodes, and so we are able to talk about all 4 episodes. Um, and I just want to start with an opening statement. Okay.
okay,
I and this is kind of goes into like my overall opinion about this show. I am so glad that Simon and Trevor are good actors. That's it. That's it. Will, what were I
so
just they
yeah,
are so I like the idea
mm,
that we are looking at 2 actors who are down on their luck, quote unquote. They're not A-list celebrities. One of them
nope,
is getting fired from jobs. One of them just got out of prison for a job. Um, and yet they are actually good. We see them in auditions. We see them
yeah,
talking about acting and they are good. And then you have these sequences and it's just oh my god. There's one sequence in the second episode where they're just going back and forth like quote
mhm,
after quote.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I've missed you. I have missed you on my screen because you are so good. And now you're paired with Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley. It's just thank you, MCU, because
yeah,
I'm the acting was just so well and these characters work so well with each other. that I've been waiting.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for something like this, and I'm so glad it's here. But yeah, I'm just so glad they didn't make them bad actors. They made them actors who get in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like their love of acting is almost their detriment and
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
put them into these situations. So on that note, we'll take over.
Alrighty. So to me, this series, I felt like Kevin Feige and Seth Rogen sat down and they had at lunch and they said, you know what? Let's combine the Marvel universe with the studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause cause it was just so meta. I mean, it was just when I was watching this, I was like, I was enjoying it, but I couldn't help but like with all the all the name drops and everything else, and it was just it really was just giving off the studio vibes for me so much, and I really enjoyed that show. But it worked. This series so far, at least the 4 episodes that we've watched to this point, it's under the Marvel spotlight.
Mhm. It's the best
Banner.
spotlight they've done so far.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And so I'm kind of glad that, yeah, there's some they're clearly in references to the main MCU. Obviously with the Mandarin and the whole Iron Man 3 and all that. But was the 3 or 2? I'm trying to dismiss it along. But but yeah, I just yeah, really enjoyed it. And we were talking about the actors and just thinking about the episode 2 when Joey Pants
Yep.
and Trevor, yeah, and how insulted they were when how Joey Pants was like treated a profession and all, but just from the start too, how
Well,
what I really liked was how Simon, he was doing all this prep for, he was a day player and doing all this prep and notes and trying to uh, get to the psyche of this character and then just sort of seeing things just sort of play out. And again, that's where I was like the studio vibes came in because it reminded me of like Matt Remick doing that kind of stuff, being a producer, but then like I got all these notes, I want to give it to, yeah. So I really like this show.
so you touched on early the idea that there it's very meta, but it's
Mhm.
also not necessarily MCU meta.
Right.
And I think that's why it works so well
Hmm.
because it's meta to the studio and to how Hollywood works. But the references have maybe been 5% or less MCU related, and like
Yeah.
95% are actually about Hollywood and the way
Yeah.
things work. Like one
Yeah.
of my favorite lines from the Joey Pants episode is, "Yeah, yeah, if I was British, they would have knighted me."
Yes.
I mean,
I
like
cracked
like
out loud. Yeah.
it's so clever
Yep.
and just like, yeah, yeah, okay. He has this ability. He's a big man. So the car scene,
Mm.
I think the car should have been a little bit smaller, but it was very funny to me to watch him park and then have to get all the way over into the passenger seat and then squeeze his way out of there. And like that's one instance of physical comedy, and
Yeah.
yet constantly I feel as though we're watching him in these trying to get the lines down, not necessarily memorized, but trying to understand them so they become off as natural. That
Hmm.
whole process that he has. it feels like you're watching a giant man trying to make himself smaller.
Yeah.
and it's funny. It's very funny, and he has this ability to do humor, but it's not like slapstick
Right.
either.
Yeah.
It's very much not. And the way he bounces off of Trevor, who honestly has more one-liners, but even Ben Kingsley can't come off as like, and now I'm going to tell my joke, and here's the
Right.
punchline. No, because they are just reacting to the world and these circumstances that they're put in. And like again, the self-tape episode was just great
Yeah.
because when Marcy comes in and tries to do the off-camera lines,
Yeah.
and they're both like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, really? Why are but you know what the irony is there, to go back to that opening sequence with Simon on the set of American Horror Story, he was kind
Mm.
of pulling a Marcy.
Yeah,
Kind
he
of
was.
pulling one.
He was.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's um so I guess, what was your favorite episode out of these four? Because I know what my least favorite was.
So, interestingly enough, and I'd heard people talk about it, but I have to say my the one that I really got locked in was Doorman. Um, just because whenever Simon went to do the one audition, and they referenced the doorman waiver
Mhm.
and stuff, and I was like, huh. So yeah, so what's it about this doorman waiver?
Mhm.
And of course, it had the NDAs and all that kind of stuff too. But I think it. I mean, I liked all. I think overall, I liked all of the episodes. But it was just something about doorman. It was just Simon, shows up there at the end, but just to see why this waiver happened, and it also why the Department of Damage Control is, I guess, to the larger Marvel universe or whatever. It does play back into that because I think we saw that department in some of the um, post Endgame films and TV shows. Just like the exploration of like how this affable guy just randomly ended up, taking the trash out, ends up with powers, and then and Josh Gad and all, it's just all the things that was going on there, and then just it was like it reminded me of like the old Behind the Music shows on VH1,
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
have the rise and the fall of someone,
Yeah, they did that
and
very well with Mario
yeah,
Lopez.
yeah, yeah.
I
So yeah, yeah. So I think
I
that's why that one really worked for me. Really worked for
yeah,
me.
ironically, this was my least favorite.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's a
No.
bad episode.
Yeah.
It's a good episode because
Mm.
we needed a break from the main
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the whole time I was like, "Oh, we're doing a flashback to this. Okay, that makes sense. We're going to
Mm.
explore this because they've mentioned it now a few times." So,
Yeah.
writing wise it makes sense, but then it kept going and kept going, and I was like, "Oh, this is the entire episode."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and it was fine. And like I said, I really adore this show. So
Mhm.
me saying that was my least favorite is not saying that much at all.
Yeah.
It just was, and it's more or less the oddball in the fact that there were not a lot of scenes between Ben Kingsley and Yaya
Yeah.
in this one. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, okay. Um, but I think that to your point, there was a dual purpose that
Mm.
doesn't immediately you don't immediately understand as a viewer, but now that we're talking about it, it's kind of been highlighted for me is that it first serves a purpose of recognizing why Simon views how he views his powers.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he's not someone with powers who wants to be a hero. He wants to
Right.
be an actor.
Yeah.
And yet that very thing now, as a result of the whole doorman saga, is prohibited.
Yeah.
It's not condoned, and it puts him at risk, and it's put him on a list now
Mm-hmm.
too. Um, and then, and that's the flip side of it. It also explores more about what they've been hinting at in terms of the damage control department in LA and their
Yeah.
incentive to have more control over these super powered individuals. So I mean, we're dealing with LA, we're dealing with Hollywood. So
Yeah.
of course, and you know, the police protect those with money. So
Yes, they do. Yep.
they do.
Yep.
They do. So it's a very good thing, very well done. And that's the other thing. Besides the acting that I could go hours and hours on about, but the writing.
Yeah.
They are doing a very similar thing to what we've been talking about for the last few weeks with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, where there are lines that they don't like suddenly play music to make sure the viewer understands this is an important thing. No,
Mm-hmm.
there's just subtleness happening where there's little hints at stuff. And so you have it in the back of your mind, but other hijinks ensue, and before you know it, we're talking to Joey Pants,
Yep.
and then you forget about it, and then but it's something that they are going to definitely bring up again, because everything's important. There, I don't. Granted, it's a half-hour show, much like A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so there's
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of time for fluff. But I love this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they
Same.
everything's important. So you have to pay attention, but at the simultaneously, it's a very simple story.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, and so that was the other big takeaway I had. I was like, wow, I can't wait for Will to watch this, because man, when he does, we did it again. We're watching two shows, could be in very different universes, yet somehow they're doing the same thing for their respective um, universes very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing.
It really is. It really is. And the other, I think Doorman was my favorite, like I said, but the other episode, the third episode where they're in Pasimonia, the town with the birthday party
The
for Sam's
Cleveland
mom.
with palm trees.
The Cleveland with palm trees, yeah, and
Mhm.
probably I'm sure I'm mispronouncing the name of the town, but seeing Simon's family, because we did get early in the first episode, we see and I like the way they use the flashbacks just to like
Yep.
frame things.
Yep.
And so we see him, the B movie Wonder Man, just to sort of put just the whole framing of this is Simon, sitting there with his dad eating popcorn and stuff, and then we get the story about the we learn about the powers because he had the incident with the stove, and then we see it with the family and the brother, and the dynamics between Simon and his brother, and just you know, when are you going to get a real job, and just all the things, and Simon bringing Trevor, Trevor got an invite to the cookout.
Hmm.
and but the invite was, it was um you know it was there to be
He
a
was
kind of a
forced
buffer.
to.
Yeah, he was well, both, Trevor had his reason. Trevor had the damage control reasons, but also, Simon had his reasons. Like he just needed a buffer because he was just trying to because he knew, especially once we saw the shit that he was getting from his brother, he didn't want the whole thing about the American Horror Story to come out because his mom's excited
Right.
and all that, and yeah, so there was that, and then also just, they really just went into the fact that they're Haitian. They didn't try to hide it, as far as
See, that's
their
what I was gonna bring up.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I I and I had captions on, and so
mm,
I really appreciated whenever they spoke in Haitian, it would
yeah,
just say Haitian.
yeah.
So I don't know what they
It's like,
said
yeah, no,
either.
I got it too. It's a Haitian Creole. I was like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, I was just like, "Damn it." I wanna know what they're saying. But all of their responses now, I don't it was made very clear to me that Simon didn't necessarily want Trevor there, even though, yeah, he
Yeah,
said
yeah,
after the whole idea was raised
yeah,
by Trevor to go, he was
hmm
like, "Oh, you could be my buffer." But
yeah,
Simon also clearly didn't even understand how to utilize Trevor as a buffer, and
right,
that
right,
goes to something his mom brings up in the episode is this is the first time my
hmm
son has ever brought a friend. And
yep,
so the I found it really interesting. I think they're doing a great job with just the exploration of who Simon is.
yes, I agree.
Because we continue because it's an evolution and his powers. We don't even necessarily see his powers until the second episode.
hmm
We see hints and we
right,
know,
yeah,
but we don't see it, and it's just this evolution, and then the 3rd episode opens with the 13-year-old flashback,
hmm
not to the fire, but to the events after the fire, and which is kind of not just a very important moment for Simon, but as you can see, his relationship with his mom and his brother,
yeah,
because the resentment didn't start when they chose career paths. It started all
no,
the way back then.
yep,
And then his mom continues, as parents tend to do,
yep,
to
we
just
do.
be ignorant, just shield. Yeah, and even if they know, they're like, I don't want to know. I
Yep,
just want my and and but the mom says I I don't think that there was a scene between her and Simon that really stuck out as a great mom and son moment. And yet we still understand his relationship because of everything she tells Trevor.
hmm
And so, in that sense, from a viewer perspective, Trevor did a great job as a buffer.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yep,
we learned so much about Simon through
we
those
do.
conversations.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, that was what I really liked. That was another standout moment for me as well, as far as really getting to know this character through that conversation, and then
Yeah.
we the and then also just like you said, it was clear that the tension between the two brothers didn't just start as adults, and just sort of seeing those family dynamics. I mean, it was just it was very very authentic as far as um whenever Simon gave his mom the birthday present, and then the
Yep.
brother was just like, oh yeah, yeah, well, just all the things that felt came from that. And so yeah, but um yeah, so that was a really strong moment for this episode. I mean, it really is just like, Marvel. It really, I just feel like, I know it took us, we didn't watch this first because we were finishing up Fallout, um, but Marvel, Disney did undersold this series. I don't know if they didn't know how to market it, or where the failing was. I mean, we just saw yesterday with the Super Bowl how difficult they can be with marketing things, with Mando. But I feel like I did. I've been pleasantly surprised because I really didn't have any expectations going into this show at all. I mean, I don't know hardly anything about this character as far as from the comics. And I mean, I know they did a race swap and stuff, but as far as beyond that, I really don't know anything about Simon Williams. So I have been very pleasantly surprised by this series so far, and I'm hoping that it definitely, with the next 4 episodes, it sticks to landing because it is really good, and I'm hopeful. If it does indeed stick to landing, I'm hoping we'll see this character show up in some other either season 2 spotlight shows or in the larger universe. But
Um,
but hopefully keeping what we've gotten of this character so far if he does like show up in a larger MCU.
so I need a episode to explain the porta potty explosion that happened on the set of The Rookie. That was
Yes.
mentioned. I
Yep.
took note of that. I need
Yep.
more details and understanding. Classic Trevor line was, then I took a role to pose as a terrorist to pay for my drug and prostitution debts.
Yeah. That's another
That was
great
a
line.
bit explicit.
Yeah.
Bit explicit. Thank you, mommy, for loving me. Great line. And
Yep.
just the whole aspect of a mother who, again, and she even calls herself out on it. She's like,
Mhm.
I didn't realize how alone he was and that he felt it.
Mhm.
And oh, it's just, that was such a good moment.
Yeah.
Very well acted. And then that later on in that episode, you get the, maybe it's time to admit that it's never going to be me. I'm no Wonder Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, yeah, to
Wait,
that
I
point.
got
Yeah.
more, Will. I got more.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go
Here
ahead.
we
Go
go.
ahead.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm sorry. I forgot about this one. How could I forget? I'm here code switching and everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh my god. That was so good. I already said the Trevor Pants. It's the single most consequential thing anyone could do with their life.
Mhm.
Parentheses acting. It's so important. It's so
Yep.
important. Oh my god. I'm
Yeah.
just oh. This is a classic Von Kovac one.
Mm.
Human and spectacular, and that's where this film needs to live. Human and spectacular. Spectacle. Should be spectacle, just say.
Yeah.
Shout out. I'm hopefully we
Oh,
see some audition for the Rock
one.
musical,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
One in Doorman that was Josh Gad, and it's like I can't act, and it's never stopped me from being an actor.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, go through me. Go through me.
Yep.
I think he's saying to go through him.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the writing's
Yeah.
on point, the acting's on point, and so far within the first half of the season, it's consistent.
Yeah.
And based on our previous conversations about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and other shows, when we use that term in relation to a show, it's a good thing. It's what we
Yeah.
want.
Mhm.
Because some seasons of TV have great episodes, and that's all people think about. But then
Yeah.
you look at the full length of the season, and it's like, yeah, but that was one of 7.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you can
Exactly.
have consistency, that's a strong season of television.
Indeed, it is. It really is.
Well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBLMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter, formerly known as, or on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky. Find us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Scene and at scene_n_nerd and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.